as WWE gets closer and closer to crowning the king and queen of the ring, just a week and a half away, which shocked me when they mentioned that last night on Raw. It's like, didn't we just have a pay-per-view? Now all of a sudden, here we go again. So, but yes, they are getting ready for King and Queen of the Ring on May 25th in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And to help me break the latest down, joining me on the hotline, he is from Pro Wrestling Talk STL. He is my good friend Joe Roderick. Joe, what's up, man?
What's going on, Stu? Nice to see you. Nice to talk to you. The beard is coming in real nice. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a work of art for now. How are the Cardinals doing?
It's a rough go again this
Yeah.
year. It's been been
Yeah.
some rough goings. But there's always hope, I guess, for a turnaround.
I think they're saying the same thing down in H Town.
That one fast. I mean, that one shocks me as much as the Cardinals did last year. So at least we're in year two of scratching our head. I don't understand what's happening down in your neck of the woods.
I don't either. I don't either. I mean, the Rangers are doing okay, but it's the Rangers. They're always hit or miss. So
I am looking for. I'm going to be at that ballpark coming up
that's
in
right.
July. I'm
Yeah.
going to come down for the All-Star game, and I am very much looking forward to that. I know not very aesthetically pleasing from the outside, but from what I understand, it is a really is a really nice stadium.
It is. I've been in it before. Of course, it's you've got that triangle there with Globe Life Field, what used to be Globe Life Park, now Choctaw Stadium, which is now the home of the Arlington, whatever they're called,
Renegades? Are they the
Renegades,
Renegades?
I think, of the UFL. Plus, they host high school football throughout the fall, and then, of course, right next door, the spaceship, the Death Star, better known as Jerry World, better known as AT&T Stadium, the home of the Cowboys. So, yeah, but it's a nice spot. You got Texas Live right next door, so get some food, get some drink. So yeah, it's a good spot. So, you'll have a good time in Arlington.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
Arlington's good.
mid July. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's wonderful weather in Texas in mid July too.
It is the Metroplex, so mid July, probably be about 107. Actually, I don't
Can't
know.
wait.
I mean, with the weather, the way it's been the last couple months, with the rain and the clouds, I got a feeling might not be quite as harsh of a summer as it was last year. So, not say it won't get to triple digits, but I got a feeling, maybe this year won't be quite as hard. So we'll see. It's still mid-May, so let's talk about King and Queen of the Ring. So, well, first before we get to the brackets, found out on SmackDown, Cody Rhodes will defend his undisputed WWE Championship against the United States champion Logan Paul. Now, when he came out, my heart sank. It's like, for the love of God, don't tell me they're going to switch the title, less than 2 months into his reign just so they can get the pub from Logan Paul. And I really don't think they're going to. Now the way they make it sound, it's supposed to be a title for title. So the winner gets both belts, allegedly. Give me your
Right.
thoughts.
I was really curious which direction they would go with Cody because it always, I mean, for as massive as a buildup as it was for him to finally win the belt and the great moment that it was, the biggest thing was always going to be what's next. And with the current setup of WWE and how they are doing these premium live events and how they're doing business, you really don't have to have an amazing card to sell out these next shows. They know they're going to places they have never been before. all over the world right now. And all you have to do is say we're having an event here, and those tickets are going to sell out. So having the matches or having these dream matches isn't necessary. Having these huge storylines to build up isn't that necessary. And you have a lot of other things to get people to tune into SmackDown or tune into Raw every week, other storylines, to where it's Cody's in a rough spot right now because everybody is just waiting for him to face The Rock or for Roman to come back and see what happens with that. There's not a legit contender for Cody right now that I can see on the card. And you're also, as you said, yeah, you're not going to have him drop the belt 2 months after one of the biggest moments in WrestleMania history. So putting him against the most, I guess, in social media megastar that is Logan Paul and making it an international event in Saudi the way they are, you're going to get eyes on it. And you're not going to take the belt off Cody. You're not taking the U.S. title off Logan Paul because you want Logan Paul carrying that U.S. title into his brother's fight with Mike Tyson when he walks him down the ring there in Dallas here in July. So it's going to be a double DQ. It is 100% going to be a disqualification. And so, and maybe that's what happens. Maybe Cody's next opponent interferes and we figure out who it is that way. Maybe that's where the Wyatt family comes in. Maybe that's where the next step comes, and then we get a legit contender for Cody Rhodes' title with a disqualification. Everybody walks away happy. Those two are going to put on an outstanding match.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a schmoz finish. I don't know if you call it a double DQ. It might just be Logan Paul just gets disqualified, and because of that, belts can't change hands and all that good stuff. It is, what you mentioned about, now, they're putting these PLEs on in these different parts of the world. It is kind of interesting that after WrestleMania, the next PLE to happen in the United States won't be until SummerSlam. So
that's the way it was last year too.
Was it? Was it the same last year?
When was Fast? There was the one show, the Fastlane show they did in Indianapolis, which I believe was after SummerSlam.
Yeah,
but that was the only one they had in the country, in the U.S. Everything, it was Puerto Rico. It was Money in the Bank was in England last year. Then you had Clash at the Castle, and you had a Saudi show. Everything else was international. If you count Puerto Rico as being international, everything else was out of and they also had they have some Money in the Bank too is in Toronto. So
that's right.
Technically,
so you got it outside the US. So you got
international.
France, Saudi, Canada,
and
Scotland, and then Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
it's the same formula they had last year.
Yeah. I mean, they make money off of it. They get the eyes, they get the crowds, they get the reactions like they got in France. So that makes sense. And you're right. It's not the same as with Roman, just recycling through people he'd already beaten. At least now you've got Cody that can go up against all these challengers. Now it's a different champion. But you're right. There's, there are those, and I think a lot of people talked about how, as much as AJ Styles is respected, there was no way on earth he was going to win the title. There's, it's kind of what I think, and I think that's kind of what I won't say hurt, but it kind of made Backlash maybe not quite as must see because you knew AJ wasn't going to take the title off Cody. So
you still got a first time match,
right?
Between that WWE fans would have tuned in to watch, knowing that it was going to be a really good match, and then you also had the internet wrestling community who was going to tune in to watch two former Bullet Club leaders fight, wrestle too. So you had that aura around it that was going to make people tune in. So there was never a doubt in my mind that AJ Styles was going to win that match, but you knew the two were going to put on a show.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm with you. I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of a swerve finish, DQ. Maybe Logan gets caught with the brass knucks or something like that. We'll see. Queen of the Ring right now. You have on SmackDown, Nia Jax, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair advance on wins on SmackDown, and then you had Tiffany Stratton, who won her match at a house show over the weekend. I think that if I remember correctly, the bracket right now, it's going to be Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton against Bianca Belair on SmackDown this coming week. Meanwhile, the men, you had Carmelo Hayes, Randy Orton, and Tama Tonga advance, and then LA Knight advanced at the house show. So it's going to be Hayes and Orton and Tonga and LA Knight on SmackDown this Friday. And then on the Raw side, you got Gunther defeating Kofi Kingston, Jey Uso defeating Ilya Dragunov. So it'll be Gunther versus Jey Uso next week on Raw. The winner goes to Saudi. Meanwhile, on the Queen of the Ring side, Io Sky defeating Shayna Baszler, Lyra Valkyria defeating Zoe Stark. So it's Io versus Lyra for a spot in the finals next week on Raw. It's there's quite a bit of fantasy booking. If you were going to put money on it, who ends up as King and Queen of the Ring?
So who? Okay, so we know it's Gunther versus Jay next
Gunther
Monday on
versus Jey
Raw.
On Raw, that winner of that match will get one of either Carmelo Hayes, Randy Orton, Tama Tonga, or LA Knight.
And then on the men's side again, you on the other side, you just mentioned it. It's who? It's Orton and
You got Carmelo Hayes versus Randy Orton,
okay.
Tama Tonga versus LA Knight Friday night on SmackDown.
All right, so you're gonna get. This is where you start to wonder with the whole new bloodline, when do we start to get little bits and pieces of things?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's time yet for Jay versus Tama Tonga.
No.
It's not time for those two to face off against each other. But with how hot Jay is with the live crowds, I love that I'm watching this and I have no clue of the 6 guys remaining who could possibly win. In my mind, what I'm thinking on this is who makes the best king, and do we get a gimmick off of it, a character change, or and how do we handle the king in this situation? Because I believe at one point they did mention the King of the Ring would get a title shot, right?
I want to say I've heard that before, and they probably will, regardless whether it's stipulated or not.
If that's the case, Gunther makes the most sense to be King of the Ring.
Well, but you see, here's the thing, because I get the feeling it's going to be Gunther versus Cody at either Clash of the Castle or SummerSlam.
I think it's going to be Rock versus Cody at SummerSlam.
No, they're going to say Rock for WrestleMania next year. I think
Rock versus Roman is WrestleMania, though.
Well, that's possible too. Gunther would seem like the logical choice to win King of the Ring. Something tells me Carmelo Hayes.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think so. I think it goes one of two ways. I think you either get Jay versus Tama Tonga, and Tama gets it. Tama Tonga becomes King of the Ring, just like Haku was, and then you can add a King Tama to the bloodline. Or I think we get Gunther Randy Orton. I think those are Gunther versus Randy Orton would be an incredible match.
That would be
and it would make this is right now. This is the only logical way it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then on top of that, if you are getting a title shot, Orton versus Cody Rhodes, that's I mean,
Yeah. Former
that's a
legacy
moneymaker too.
teammate. You're
We're
right.
talking about possible opponents for Cody that are legit contenders to take the belt off of him. Randy Orton's the top of the list,
Oh, absolutely.
given their history.
Yes.
And Randy Orton versus Gunther, God, that's main event worthy for a pay-per-view.
Yes. Especially in Saudi.
Yes.
Especially in Saudi.
So,
I could very easily see that.
all right, I think I've talked myself into Orton versus Gunther in the main event at King of the Ring.
Yeah, I think you talked me into it too. Queen of the
I-
Ring. There is, I forget where, I think I heard this on Wrestling Observer Live with Brian Alvarez, Mike Sempervive. Apparently someone, and this could be someone just pulling on a string, but apparently somebody saw a render of, what was it, Lyra Valkyria and let's see, Lyra and, was it, maybe in Strat.
Okay.
Apparently they saw a render of the two of them like wearing a full like cover, like a bodysuit, kind of like what they would be required to wear in Saudi Arabia. And so someone took that and basically turned it into, it would be Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton in Saudi Arabia for Queen of the Ring. I kind of like that one. I'm not sure. I'm not. It is a long shot at best, but I think I could see that happening. I think right now Nia Jax is probably the favorite, but I could see Lyra or Tiffany somehow involved in the finals.
Yeah, so here's my thought on it. Okay, Jade Cargill, you can't do too much too quick with her. You can't put the tag titles on her and make her Queen of the Ring.
Right.
But she is also the premier woman that you are pushing right now.
Right. You also can't put her and Bianca against each other yet, because that's something you got to wait.
I think Io Sky should beat Lyra Valkyria. I think right now, I think last night it was so apparent that the crowd at Raw does not know who Lyra Valkyria is yet. If you watched her entrances at NXT and you watched the reaction that her entrance music got and the sing along that her entrance music got, that was non existent last night at Raw. They tried so hard. They tried 3 times to get the crowd into her music. And I don't know if you just need a smarter audience than a better wrestling city than what they were in last night, but it wasn't there.
Well, Greenville, South Carolina is not too bad of a wrestling city.
But is it a WWE, like they're going to sing along, they're going to get with, I mean, it was a good NWA city back in the day. I mean, it was a good WCW city back in the day.
One of the hotbeds for Crockett. Yeah.
Okay. But it wasn't a WWE. Has it ever been a WWE town?
Understandable. Yeah.
So that's, I think that's part of what had made Valkyria. I mean, the crowd going along with it helped make her the star that she was. Yeah. I'm wondering how how do we get to a point where it's Io Sky in a triple threat match versus Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for Queen of the Ring?
Like I said, I don't think you need to do that yet, because again, you need to save Jade versus Bianca for down the road. A, they got to drop the tag titles, and B, Jade's got to turn on Bianca.
They don't have to turn on each other in a triple threat match, though.
Well, but you're planting the seeds,
right?
I think you're doing that too soon if you do it next week. I
So
I think
yeah,
it's got to
that's
be somehow Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair have to not be in the finals.
how do you get Nia Jax to beat Jade Cargill?
You know, it could be low hand, could be cheating, could
She can't take a
whatever.
pay. It has to be a count out. Like, it 100% has to be a count out.
Yeah, could be a count out, could be I mean there's ways to do it. But you can't put Jay. I mean, and I'm kind of with you that I don't think you want to put too much on Jade just yet. So that alone should keep her out of the finals. I guess you might be able to put Bianca in the finals, but I don't think she should win Queen of the Ring. And I'm trying to think because it's if done properly, being King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring should set them up for you know a pretty good push going forward. Well, you look at the women that are still left in the Queen of the Ring: Nia, Jade, Bianca, and Tiffany on the SmackDown side, Io and Lyra on the Raw side. Which one of those women could use the push the most?
It's whoever comes out of the SmackDown side.
See, that thing. Nia Jax is a made woman. Jade's a made woman. Bianca's a made woman.
Do you want Queen Tiffy? Yeah, I mean Tiffy time is a
That
good
would be
thing right now.
that would be kind of funny.
But
I think.
do you want to get away from Tiffy time and everything that she is? I mean, she would absolutely just thrive in that character
Yeah,
of being queen. So I'd be all for that.
yeah.
But I do think Io Sky needs to win on the Raw side. I do think Io Sky needs to come out of the
And
Raw
then
side.
and then make it Tiffany Stratton versus Io, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. You've got the triple threat with
By
Sam.
the way, before we move off the King and
Yeah.
Queen of the Ring, one thing that does bother me this year with it is that we aren't getting the semifinals and the finals on the same night.
Yeah, that kind of hurts me a little bit too.
I mean, I get next week you have a banger of a main event with Gunther and Jey Uso. I completely understand that, and
Plus, you got
that's
at
going to
least two
be
other title matches.
yeah, that's going to be an awesome main event to, next Monday. I get that, and whatever's on the men's side for SmackDown, again, that's going to be awesome too. But I mean, they're going to tape it ahead of time. Are they taping it? Are they doing a double show this Friday for that? I guess
I would assume so.
they'll have to, or they're going to do Monday, do a double show on Monday for a Raw, a Super Show, a Raw and a SmackDown.
Maybe
I haven't seen what the taping schedule is yet for that.
I haven't heard. I would assume they're going to do a double show on Friday. I seriously doubt you could do a SmackDown taping next Monday on Raw, just because that's 5 hours between 3 hour Raw, 2 hour SmackDown. You're going to burn out that crowd, even if it is in Greensboro. You're going to burn that crowd out quickly. So I would think, if anything, they're going to do a double taping this Friday.
SmackDown and King and Queen of the Ring are going to be live from Saudi.
Okay, well then never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess SmackDown's going to be in Saudi. All right.
So SmackDown will be in Saudi. So we'll get it on tape delay, Stu.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. So that will take place there. So another new thing that they're doing, because they just did that in France too. They did SmackDown and the pay-per-view in France back to back. So
that's right.
Yeah, trying to double up on that money too.
You also got Becky Lynch defending the women's world title against oh dadgummit, Liv Morgan, and got Sami Zayn defending the Intercontinental title against Bronson Reed and Chad Gable.
That Intercontinental, that's the one where, I mean, of all the other ones, I feel like when we see the card, when we get the entire card, we'll have a good idea of what to expect in all of these matches. I don't know what direction you go with that. I don't know where you go. If Bronson Reed wins, they have put him in so many intercontinental title situations now. They had him win the Andre the Giant tournament. He has been, they have had him be a force in that second tier for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you do if he wins that? I don't know if there's a plan I don't know what he does as a champion. But Chad Gable right now, in the transformation that he has made, that's one he deserves the Intercontinental title as much as Sammy's did, if not more than Sammy did.
Yeah, and I can see that could feed into the eventual split up between him and the rest of Alpha Academy, which, by the way, when is Otis going to slap back on Gable? You know, I mean, that's, boy, it feels like that one is on the brink.
Let me ask you this. This is something I was texting with a friend watching this last night on Raw. When Otis does attack Chad Gable, that the reaction to that with the live crowd is going to be amazing. They are going to blow the roof off of that. They're still gonna. I feel like you still need another 1 or 2 week build up to that to make Otis even more sympathetic. And we've seen what happens when you make Otis that sympathetic character, and then you have the big payoff. Unfortunately, the big payoff that he's had came in front of no audience at the COVID WrestleMania, and we didn't get to really see that play out. When Otis finally goes after Chad Gable, the crowd is going to love it. They are going to eat it up. What do you do with Otis after that? Do people care about Otis a week after that? After Otis and Chad Gable have their match, will people care about him? Or will we just be waiting for Otis to get teamed up with the next person that he's going to team up with to be a comedy act?
You know, that's a good question to have. It feels like Otis could be kind of in the same vein as an R-Truth, as far as he's out there, you know, to get some smiles, get some laughs.
Wildly entertaining.
I don't know.
Wildly athletic.
I don't know who you. I don't know if you team him up with somebody or not. Maybe have him or maybe just have him and Tozawa and Maxine. You know, I guess you couldn't call it the Alpha Academy anymore, but have them just be the comedy section of Raw.
Right.
You know,
in a 3-hour show, you need that.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Yeah, you do.
So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just Chad Gable has jumped back and forth in going face and heel so many times and does such a good job of it that he does deserve to have an Intercontinental title run of his own. And I do think having him win in Saudi and maybe hold that in Otis's face for a while, maybe that's a good lead into something, you know?
I think so too. Let's switch gears, talk a little AEW. So over the weekend, Saturday, Ontario, California, New Japan Pro Wrestling had their resurgence event. Eddie Kingston, Gabe Kidd, no ropes match for the New Japan Strong Openweight title. Gabe Kidd gets the win. He is now the new Openweight champion. Afterwards, here come the Young Bucks. Here comes Jack Perry. They basically attack Kingston. This is coming off the heels of Kingston joining up with FTR and Bryan Danielson. They'll be in the Anarchy in the Arena match at Double or Nothing against the Elite. Now, there has been a couple of reports that Kingston might be legit injured, because apparently during the match with Kidd, one of the times he came out of the ring, he hit his leg on the guardrail. So there is a chance he might be injured. We shall see. I would suspect we may hear about it tomorrow night on Dynamite.
So Eddie Kingston has wrestled a lot for Glory Pro over the many years that I've worked with them here in St. Louis. Has Eddie Kingston come through down in your way a lot?
Yeah, he's been with Inspire quite a few times.
nobody sells an injury better than Eddie Kingston.
You're right. It's, I
I
will.
mean,
It's
even backstage, I have seen that man walking around looking like he has wrestled his last match of his life. And
our
then you see him out there the next month just going right back at it again.
our mutual friend Simon Miller from What Culture has this meter when he redoes ups and downs on whether Eddie Kingston thinks it's real or whether it's a shoot or work, and it's almost always he thinks it's real.
Yeah.
Because that's what Eddie does.
He's so good at it.
He is. Um, like I said, I got a feeling they will address it tomorrow night on Dynamite on TBS. If for some reason he can't go, which and look, we're a week and a half away from Double or Nothing. Who fills the spot? And I already have a man in mind, but I want to get your opinion. Who fills Eddie's spot?
Where is Hangman Page at right now with his recovery?
That's a good question.
That would be my name. That would be my guy to come back and fight this new version of the Elite that is trying to take over everything.
And I like that, except for one thing. If he was ready to come back, I would have thought they would have went with that, or at least kept, that'd be a surprise that they'll unveil, on Rampage or whatever before Double or Nothing. The person I'm thinking of, Mark Briscoe, the current Ring of Honor World Champion. I think Mark would be a fantastic addition.
Does that
he's got the connection with FTR, of course. And
AEW, it's just every week I keep giving it a chance and I keep waiting for something to pull me in. And that, the Devil storyline, I think now we can call it a flop. At this point, we can say that what happened with the Devil storyline was a flop. MJF was hurt at the end of it. Adam Cole never got healthy like they expected him to. As Samoa Joe was a transitional champion. I can't remember the last time I've seen the Undisputed Kingdom on Dynamite on Wednesdays.
It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, that was the hottest thing going, and now Wardlow just has vanished again. I watch on Wednesdays. I don't watch Collision on Saturdays. I watch Wednesday. I watch Wednesday Dynamite, and that's it. And so if you're not on Wednesday Dynamite, to me, you don't exist right now. I mean, you might as well be WCW Saturday night. That's kind of the way I look at it.
I get you.
Yeah. So in my eye, you need a bigger name than Mark Briscoe. You need somebody that the crowd is going to go insane for when that music hits.
Well, I mean, the other one I would think is Max, but Max didn't. I don't think Max is ready to come back yet.
And I don't think you're bringing him back for an Anarchy in the Arena match as part of an 8-man. And when he comes back, it is either for revenge, or it's for his title.
Yeah,
it's one or the other. You're not bringing him in any other capacity.
So let's assume Hangman's not cleared yet. Max isn't cleared yet. No Mark Briscoe. I mean, man.
Right. What's Mox's status? I mean, what is like?
They haven't announced yet. Now it's allegedly so. He and Bryan Danielson are going to face Kyle Fletcher and Jeff Cobb tomorrow night on Dynamite.
Okay.
So you got the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Mox, the Ring of Honor World Television Champion Kyle Fletcher, the NJPW World TV Champion and Jeff Cobb. So that should be a fun match, but they haven't mentioned anything as far as who Mox may face at Double or Nothing. I would assume. Actually, I would think they're going to save. I think they would wait on a IWGP title defense until Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
So then what do you do with Mox? I guess you could put him in Anarchy in the Arena. So it'd be FTR in 2/3 of Blackpool Combat Club.
Right.
Well, I guess half, since Wheeler Yuta's still a part of him, even if he's not cleared. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I like I said, hopefully we'll gain some clarity tomorrow night on Dynamite as far as Eddie Kingston's status. Hopefully he is okay and they can go with Eddie, because I think Eddie being a part of that is an
Right.
absolute must. So, speaking of title defenses, it was announced Willow Nightingale, the current TBS champion, she will defend that title against Tom Nakano at Stardom Flashing Champions this coming Saturday in Yokohama, Japan. So Willow Nightingale taking the TBS title over to the land of the rising sun. Now, of course, this is a week before she defends it against Mercedes Moné at Double or Nothing.
I am. Are you still excited about Mercedes Moné
No.
debuting at Double or Nothing?
No. I like
how
her.
that has been fumbled so bad.
I like her. I I'll be honest, I am not sold on her star level like some people are. She is a huge star.
She's a great wrestler.
She's a great wrestler. She's a huge
and
star.
we've now watched her for 2 months not wrestle. She's a great wrestler. She's a below average promo, and all they've had her do is cut promos.
Yeah, that's true.
There's unless she's hurt, she should have been wrestling at Dynasty.
And I'll be honest. I know they're gonna put the title on her. I wish they wouldn't.
Then that's another thing that they're doing. They're just they're bringing these big name signings in, and then they're just slapping titles on them.
And that's what Tony does.
And Okada has a belt. Ospreay's going to have a belt after this pay-per-view. Yep. Edge or Adam Copeland has a belt. Now Mercedes Moné is going to have a belt. Everybody just gets belts.
Yeah. Well, they got plenty of them. So
they do. Who was it the other day? Was it Bully or somebody the other day that was just talking about how every segment somebody has a new belt. Somebody comes out with a belt, and you're just, what belt is that? Okay, what belt is that? And it's just every segment, there's a belt out there.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
And that's why these pay-per-views they have are 13 matches long and take 4.5 hours.
And they're good matches, but you're right. They take so long. And you've got this abundance of titles to where it's like it becomes white noise with these defenses. And I don't know. It's
Backlash. Backlash France had 5 matches.
Yes.
5.
Yes, you're right. 5 matches. Fantastic show. Of course, the crowd ate it up because it's France, but they, as Jim Ross would say, they made the most of their minutes.
King and Queen of the Ring right now has 5 matches.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will add another. They probably will add another and get it to. I don't know what you add to this, but my guess is something will get added.
You might have one more.
Right.
And
I think it depends. We'll see what the finals look like of these, and then maybe the Bloodline does get. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Bloodline has to go over to Saudi in some capacity, right?
True.
We already talked ourselves into Gunther versus Randy Orton, so that means the Bloodline is left out.
Bloodline's got to do something, right?
Unless there's unless they have something that they do.
All right. We mentioned Dynamite tomorrow. You got Moxley Danielson taking on Fletcher and Jeff Cobb, and of course Jeff Cobb's one of my favorites. He's such a good dude, and B, good Lord, that boy's strong. I mean, to this day, I still remember him coming to Wrestle Circus, him and Lance Archer and MJF in a match where Lance and Jeff basically played let's toss the human as far as we can. And that's all it was. That's all it was. So you got those four. You got Christopher Daniels and Matt Seidel taking on the Young Bucks because apparently the Bucks insulted Christopher Daniels. Daniels stood up to him. So now you got this match, which we know the Young Bucks are going to win. And then Okada defending the Continental title against Dax Hardwood from FTR. They've got some other segments. Adam Copeland's calling out Malachi Black, wants to face him at Double or Nothing, which that match is going to happen. Do you put the TNT title on Malachi Black?
What's his contract status right now with AEW?
That's a good question.
I think that kind of determines it, right?
You would think.
Because the only other thing I can see right now that would happen would be Copeland keeps it. If you want to make the most out of a Copeland Christian rivalry, there needs to be a ladder match at some point. There needs to be a TLC match at some point between those two. And if you're going, that either has to be an all in or all out.
Yeah.
Which means Copeland has to keep the belt until then.
And he's got to stay baby face. Because remember,
yes,
they play this whole thing. He got misted at Dynasty by Malachi, and now, allegedly the mist turns him dark or whatever, whatever, hokey pokey stuff they would want to do. And I've heard the whispers about, Adam Copeland's going to go heel. Well, but why? Are you doing it just to turn him heel? That seems to be, there was a time when it seemed like every time you turn around, it's like, well, we should turn him heel. Well, you don't turn a person heel just because you want to turn a person heel.
Right.
There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a story behind it. There's got to be something, and it's got to be more than this hokey pokey stuff.
And yeah, and I think Copeland wanted to be heel, and I think was really looking for it. And you've heard it in some interviews lately. He has regrets of just kind of how Judgment Day ended with him in it, but understands why it did with some of the injuries that happened. Cody's torn pec being the biggest one, that they needed him to go back to being a face, and that's kind of how they went about it. So maybe we could see what this run would have looked like. Maybe we could see what this Judgment Day edge could have looked like if they were able to go through with it.
Well, but okay, sure. So you turn Copeland heel, but he's going to be by himself, or do you align him with somebody?
And that's where I ask about the contract status of Malachi.
I gotta believe he's got some time left, doesn't he?
I guess that's something that you and I are maybe above our pay grade with, knowing some of the contracts of these guys. I mean, he's been there for a while now.
He has.
His wife's still over in WWE.
Right. And there was talk he wanted to get out.
Yeah.
Possibly to go back to WWE so he could rejoin his wife. But I got a feeling he's still got some time left.
Yeah. I don't know how they go with that.
That's the interesting one.
Right.
We shall see. He is Joe Roderick. Catch him on Pro Wrestling Talk STL. Claib's online for all your sports talk. Joe, I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, Stu.
Always good to talk to you.
Anytime.
Have a great week. I think we may have to see if we can't catch each other while you're in Arlington.
Absolutely. Oh, I'll be there. So make your way on up, and we'll hang out.
3 hours from right here in Austin. So, all right, man. Joe, I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Stu.